Welcome to this explainer. Look, we're diving right in today because we are heading straight into the scorching dust of ancient Babylon. We're going to unpack a brilliant, timeless fable that absolutely forces us to confront the harsh realities of wealth, grueling labor, and the actual secrets of financial independence. This story, it sets up a incredibly powerful foundation for understanding how wealth is actually built rather than just dreamed about. Are we just stupid sheep? Man, that striking question really hits at the very core of our story, doesn't it? It plunges us directly into the emotional despair of two working-class friends who have a sudden, terrifying epiphany. Despite living in a society of immense, overflowing abundance, they are entirely broke. I mean, they're surrounded by gold, but absolutely none of it is in their own pockets. Picture this. Imagine you're actually stepping into ancient Babylon. On one hand, you're practically blinded by unimaginable riches. You know, the grand terraces of the king's palace, the towering painted Temple of Bel, all these wealthy nobles just rushing by in their golden chariots. But right shoulder to shoulder with all that majesty is a crushing everyday poverty. You have manual laborers who are literally forced to step down into the muddy gutters just to let the rich pass by. It's a completely chaotic mix of blinding wealth and a really harsh, gritty reality. Section 1, The Builder's Despair, and a Dream of Gold. So we meet Bansir. He's this massive, muscular chariot builder. But right now, he's completely paralyzed by frustration, just sitting there in his workshop. He tells a friend about this vivid, beautiful dream he just had. In it, his purse was heavy. He was casually tossing shekels to beggars, buying gold ornaments for his wife, and feeling a profoundly wonderful sense of security about his future. But then he woke up, and waking up to the reality of a completely empty purse, it sparked this deep, painful feeling of rebellion inside him. Moving right along to Section 2, A Musician's Empty Purse and the Arrival of Kobe. The narrative gets a lot deeper when Bansir's best friend shows up. This is Kobe, a really talented musician, and he's arriving to ask for a totally meager loan of just 2 shekels. He just needs something to tide him over until after he plays at a feast for the nobles later that evening. But Bansir has to make this humiliating admission. He says, look, if I had 2 shekels, I couldn't lend them to you, because that would be my entire fortune, and no man can lend his entire fortune, not even to his best friend. So despite having very distinct skills, both of these men share the exact same terrifying reality. They are living completely paycheck to paycheck. You know, this brilliantly illustrates the crux of their whole epiphany. Because think about it, Bansir and Kobe did everything they were supposed to do. As youths, they went to the priests to learn the wisdom of their trades. They worked grueling hours from dawn to dusk for years. And over time, they actually earned really good money. But by spending those wages freely on the joys of life, today, halfway through their lives, they've retained absolutely zero wealth. Doing everything society told them to do, working hard and spending freely, did not actually build lasting wealth. Which brings us to Section 3, the illusion of hard labor, and looking at the slaves. All of a sudden, a bell rings. They look up and watch this long column of sweating, half-naked slaves walking 5 abreast up a narrow street, hauling these incredibly heavy goat skins of water from the Euphrates River just to water the king's hanging gardens. Bansir and Kobe call themselves free men, but are they really? The slaves work endlessly every single day just to survive, sleeping on straw beds and eating mush. But the freemen, they're also working endlessly from dawn to dusk for mere survival, feeding their children goat's milk and thin broth. That grim realization sets in, their daily grind makes them scarcely better off than the king's beasts of burden. And that prompts Bansir to ask this incredibly poignant question. It verbalizes a timeless frustration felt by everyday workers throughout all of history. They are living in the richest city in the known world. The wealth is literally right in front of them. So why don't they have a fair share? Why do they sweat endlessly, use all the skill in their hands and minds, but never seem to get ahead? Let's dive into Section 4, Seeking the Richest Man and the Epiphany. So realizing the gods aren't just going to randomly bless them, they actually stop complaining about their disfavor and start looking for a practical solution. It's right then that Kobe brings up a fascinating point. He mentions seeing a childhood friend, Arkad, riding through the streets in a golden chariot. And here's the thing, Arkad isn't some distant royal. They studied with the same master, they played the exact same games as kids. Yet today, Arkad is known as the absolute richest man in all of Babylon. He's so incredibly wealthy that the king himself relies on Arkad's gold for affairs of the state treasury. And right here is where they figure out the core mechanic of Arkad's wealth. Bensir admits that, if he met Arkad in the dark, he'd be tempted to just empty his purse. But Kobe corrects him. A man's fortune isn't the coins he carries. If you just have a full purse, well, it empties quickly. They realize Arkad's true secret is income. He possesses this endearing, continuous stream of gold that replenishes his purse no matter what he does, whether he is out traveling to far-off lands or literally just sitting on a wall at home.
This builds directly into an actionable plan for them. Bansir and Kobe finally realize why they're broke. They dedicated their lives to seeking the knowledge of building the strongest chariots, or the knowledge of making a lyre sing beautifully. And hey, they succeeded at those things. But they have to finally admit they never, not once, actively sought out the specific knowledge of wealth creation.
So what do they actually do about it? Rather than letting envy completely consume them or grumbling that it's just unfair that Arkad has so much, they take action. They decide to band together. They plan to gather up the rest of their childhood friends who are in the exact same struggling boat, completely swallow their pride, and humbly go to Arkad. They're going to ask him to share the exact financial wisdom he used to build his fortune. As we wrap up this explainer, we are left standing right at the gates of an incredible journey. We end on this wildly provocative question. What is the secret that Arkad actually knows? Is wealth just a matter of dumb luck, or is it a set of practical rules that an everyday laborer, a chariot builder, a musician, or you and I can truly learn and apply? Keep this question in mind because discovering the answer to it is exactly how you change your financial destiny. Thanks for joining this explainer, and definitely take these lessons with you.